As one of the three Gorgons, Medusa's only power, at least that we've seen, is to petrify anyone who meets her gaze. She was beaten by a 12-year-old Percy on his first quest, and she was one of the first monsters he'd ever killed, so he didn't have much experience at the time, which is why she's last. The Minotaur is one of the most iconic villains in Percy Jackson, but he's just not that powerful. He's very strong, being described as very tall with bulging biceps, triceps, and a bunch of other seps, which was proven when he easily lifted and tossed Gabe's Caparo. He also got destroyed by a 12-year-old Percy, and when the two faced off again in the last Olympian, he got beaten even worse. After showing off his camp necklaces to show how many demigods he's killed, Percy cut his axe in half, cut off both of his horns this time, and threw him off the bridge they were fighting on. Charybdis is a monster in the form of a giant mouth located in the Bermuda Triangle. In the Sea of Monsters, Clarice, Percy, Annabeth, and Typhon fight her. Charybdis creates a whirlpool that Percy was unable to overpower, and takes no damage from Clarice's cannon shots. Scylla in the Sea of Monsters also attacks the group, grabbing hold of Percy for a time, but he manages to escape. Camp is an extremely powerful monster, an ally of the Titans, and was the original jailer of Tartarus. She fought Percy and Annabeth in the Battle of the Labyrinth, and nearly defeated the two of them before Breres showed up to help. Orion is the giant bane of Artemis and Apollo. In the Blood of Olympus, he defeats an insane amount of hunters and Amazons while hunting down Nico, Rhena, and Hedge. He was defeated in the Blood of Olympus by Rhena, who used blessings from both Athena and Bellona. Hyperion is a Titan Lord of the East, as well as a Titan of Light and Fire. It was mentioned by Annabeth in the last Olympian that next to Atlas, the general of Kronos, Hyperion was the most powerful Titan. During his fight with Percy, we see Hyperion walk on water, ignite his body in a column of fire, blinding Percy, and his strikes were so powerful they threw Percy back 300 yards. Percy admitted he would have broken every bone in his body if not for his invincibility from the river Styx. In the end, while Percy distracted him, it took Grover, who had received his power from Pan at the time, as well as every other satyr in the area to defeat him. The Triumvirate is a group of the three worst Roman emperors, Nero, Commodus, and Caligula, who teamed up with powerful enemies like Tarquin and Python. They are extremely rich, like super rich, having profited off of both Titan wars, giving them access to things like Caligula's 50 super expensive warship yachts. Commodus and Caligula teamed up with Tarquin to attack Camp Jupiter, swarming New Rome with undead warriors. Caligula managed to kill Jason, one of the most powerful demigods alive, in a duel, and it took every ounce of Frank's strength to avenge Jason and defeat Caligula. Commodus has incredible strength and fighting prowess, nicknamed the New Hercules, and Nero was a master at manipulation, having controlled Meg since a very young age, and even became a minor god. Eventually, their powers were absorbed by Python after they died. Atlas is Kronos' right-hand man and was tasked with recruiting monsters for the Titan army, giving him the nickname the General. He is the Titan of Endurance, which makes sense since he's been holding the sky forever. And during his fight with Percy and Zoe in the Titan's Curse, Percy never managed to get a hit on Atlas. Atlas toyed with Percy and easily deflected Zoe's arrows. When he fought with Artemis, it was said that his strength was unstoppable. Artemis only managed to win that fight, if you would even call it winning, by tricking Atlas into taking back his burden. Porphyrion is the king of the giants, meaning he can only be killed by a demigod and a god fighting together, and is second only to his mother Gaea. In The Lost Hero, just after he awakened, he went head to head with Jason while in his weakest form. In the Blood of Olympus, during the battle between the Seven, the Giants, and the Olympians, it takes Jason and Zeus's combined power to defeat Porphyrion, ultimately being destroyed by Zeus's Master Bolt, his most powerful attack. His abilities include a gravitational pull, similar to his father Tartarus's, teleportation, and electrical resistance. According to the god Thoth, Setne is a brilliant magician who battled monsters, adventured into the Duat, conquered gods, and broke into sacred tombs. Setne stole the Book of Thoth, created the Shadow Execration spell, and created the Book of Overcoming Apophis. After his death, he was sentenced to oblivion 4 times, but managed to escape each time, causing havoc in the mortal world. Setne caused the French Revolution, as well as the start of World War I. In the Demigods and Magicians crossover, Setne attempts to steal the crown of Ptolemy, and use it to become a god and reach immortality. In the end, it takes Percy, combined with the power of the goddess Nekbet, Annabeth, as well as Carter, the pharaoh of the magician world, and Sadie, arguably the most powerful magician, to defeat him. Titan god of the oceans, eldest of the Titans, Oceanus enlists many ancient sea monsters in the last Olympian to join the war, fighting on Kronos' side. He went head to head in the last Olympian with Poseidon in an enormous battle that caused violent tsunamis and heavy damage to Poseidon's underwater palace. Lightning was seen flashing around the two as they battled. Fenris Wolf is a son of Loki and destined to eat Odin during Ragnarok. He can charm speak as a son of Loki, his voice being described as deep and rich by Magnus in the Sword of Summer. His charm speak is so powerful that he managed to whisper in Odin's dreams and convince him to make Sam a Valkyrie, in turn having her bring Magnus to him, since Magnus is the only one who can wield Jack, the only blade that can free Fenris, which goes to show just how smart he is. Fenris also has incredible speed and strength, managing to evade Sam, Magnus, Blitz, and Hearth's attacks with his back legs tied. Set is the god of deserts, storms, strength, chaos, and evil. He possesses Julius Cain and commands countless demons under him to build the Red Pyramid. Sadie completely merged with Isis, and Carter completely had to merge with Horus in order for the two of them to fight Set in the Red Pyramid, Carter distracting him while Sadie cast the banishing spell. In the end, Set sorta turns into a good guy, only existing as a balance to other gods who are good. Amos Cain eventually begins following the path of Set and uses his powers to fight against Apophis in the Serpent Shadow. Compared to some other villains on the list, Loki isn't physically the strongest or most capable in a fight, but his cunningness more than makes up for it. He's the god of mischief, illusions, fire, and a couple other things. He can send illusions of himself into the minds of others, like he did in the Sword of Summer, showing up in Magnus' dreams to convince him to give up on restraining Fenris Wolf. Loki can also materialize his consciousness while imprisoned, which he did multiple times to Randolph Chase. Loki, while still imprisoned, managed to manipulate so many characters to promote his plans of starting Ragnarok, which goes to show just how impressive he is. His other powers include pain transferal, shown in the Sword of Summer when he made Randolph believe his face was being burned by serpent venom, shapeshifting, incredible strength, pyrokinesis, he is the god of fire after all, magic, and charm speak. Typhon is Apollo's nemesis and absorbed the power of the Triumvirate, who were gods at the time. Like most other villains on this list, he has superhuman strength, and we've seen him shapeshift. His most impressive and dangerous power, though, is that Python was so powerful he started gaining influence over even the threads of fate. With power over the threads of fate, he can control pretty much everything, as it was said that the gods had no influence over the fates. Known as the Storm Giant and father of all monsters, including the Nemean lion which Percy defeats in the Titan's Curse, and the Chimera, Typhon is the last and most powerful child of Gaea. All the Olympians' combined power wasn't enough to stop his march to Olympus. Zeus's Master Bolt, his most powerful attack, merely made Typhon stumble before continuing his march. Typhon managed to severely injure Dionysus and Hephaestus on his way to Olympus, throwing Dionysus into a mountain and hitting Hephaestus with enough force to create a new Great Lake. Overall, he was one of the only villains whom the Olympians feared, and in the end, it took Poseidon as well as Tyson and all the other Cyclops to cast Typhon into Tartarus. King of the Titans and Lord of Time, we've seen Kronos slow down time on multiple occasions, like in the Battle of the Labyrinth after he was first awakened in Luke's body. In the Battle of the Labyrinth, when Percy sees Kronos' weapon being forged in Mount St. Helens, he describes it as the most terrifying weapon he has ever seen. We've never seen Kronos' full power, as he was trapped inside of Luke's body, but it was mentioned that if Kronos ever took his full form, he would make Typhon look like a playground bully. Kronos commands all the Titans, as well as all the monsters Atlas gathered for their army, including Typhon. He even had Morpheus and Hecate to cast a sleeping spell on all of Manhattan, and slowed down the time of everyone going into Manhattan so nobody could enter the city until the war was over. In the House of Hades, it is shown that nearly every monster, including some titans and giants, fear Nyx, as she is the primordial goddess of the night. We barely got to see any of her powers in the House of Hades, as Percy and Annabeth talked their way out of their confrontation with Nyx, but it's fair to say that the two of them couldn't take her in a fight. Nyx has absolute control over shadows and darkness, can shadow travel, and can solidify darkness into weapons. She also commands all of her children, which include multiple gods and crazy powerful monsters. Even while asleep, Gaea used the chaos of wars to awaken enough to manipulate certain people, like Hazel, in an attempt to fully awaken. She learned the names of a few heroes of the Prophecy of Seven, and tried to break their spirits, since they would be the main ones to oppose her, like she did by tricking Leo into accidentally killing his mother. As a primordial goddess of the earth, and the mother of all titans and giants, her strength exceeds that of the Olympians. The only people known to be physically stronger are Tartarus and Oceanus. Throughout the series, Gaia's power has been shown to trump those of powerful gods. For example, in the Blood of Olympus, she overpowered Athena's magical barrier around camp, and it was said that Poseidon himself would only manage to summon a salty spring in the areas where Gaia's powers were concentrated. She can create monsters that rival gods, like Typhon, has supreme power over everything on the earth, including plants and animals, can possess people for certain periods of time, and can grant immortality. Now for the number 1 spot, we have a 3-way tie, mainly because every one of these villains can just destroy the entire world, and because we don't get to see enough of their powers to accurately judge them. Anyways, the first of the 3 is obviously Tartarus. In the House of Hades, Tartarus takes a physical form, saying it was only a fraction of his true power, so huge and evil that it made Percy want to cower. His head was an inward spiral of darkness, a black hole, which easily absorbed and defeated the titans Hyperion and Kronos. Tartarus called titans imperfect and weak creatures, and mentioned that even the Olympians were not worthy enough for his personal attention. Tartarus's mere presence made Percy, someone who's fought the majority of the villains on this list, drop his sword. Even Annabeth mentioned that Tartarus could kill them with a single thought if he chose to. The only real power we got to see from Tartarus was his power over the gravitational pull of things around him, and his essence absorption of Kronos and Hyperion. Apophis is the manifestation of chaos and was revealed to be the main villain and true mastermind of the Kane Chronicles series, using the god Set in the Red Pyramid to attempt to escape his prison. In the Serpent Shadow, Apophis destroys all the copies of Seton's version of the Book of Overcoming Apophis. Once Apophis arose, he battled many gods including Ra, Bes, Bast, and Sobek, and easily overpowered them, even swallowing Ra. In the end, Carter and Sadie perform an execration spell on Apophis's Shwet, which is kinda like his shadow, in order to defeat him. Surt is a Jotun who rules over Muspelheim, one of the 9 worlds, and is the lord of the fire giants. He was the villain who originally killed Magnus Chase, and is destined to kill the god Frey with the Sword of Summer, aka Jack, the sharpest blade in the 9 worlds. Surt is also destined to destroy and engulf all the 9 worlds in flames during Ragnarok. So yeah, there are the top 20 villains in the Riordanverse. Comment whatever thoughts you may have, whether you agree or disagree, and I'll try my best to respond with what I think. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you all next time.